Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Solomon, and today going to be going over both the wild card and divisional round recaps, as well as predictions for the next round of the playoffs, conference championships. It all should be very interesting, but before I get into it, I want to ask all of you to please like, comment, and subscribe. Put so much effort into this podcast, and all the likes, all the views, all the comments mean the world to me. So please leave a comment down below, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and without further ado, we're just going to get straight into it. I'm sure the wild card round, we are not shocked by anything that happened. By now, at least, there are a couple of upsets and major games. The best game of wild card weekend was Packers versus Bears. Had that at the top of the list. Was an epic comeback. Bears coming back from 21-3 to win the game 31-27. The second best game was actually an upset. The Niners took down the Eagles 23-19. Bills defeat the Jaguars on Sunday. That was 27-24. Rams defeat the Panthers 34-31. Patriots unfortunately beat my Chargers 16-3. And the Steelers fall to the Texans 30-6. So takeaways from Wild Card Weekend were the Bears are for real. I like the Bears. They are a legitimate team. They're a team that shouldn't be messed with or reckoned with in the future. Right? The second takeaway I had from all these games is that it's really the Eagles' season was defined. They made a lot of mistakes. But the reality of the situation to me is, I think overall, offense kind of killed them. Jalen Hurts regressed this year, and so you can't win a championship like that. A lot of people had high expectations for that Eagles team heading into the second season. Another thing I had is that the Patriots, like the Bears, the Patriots, they're for real. And obviously Mike Tomlin resigned after that game. I don't like how people say he got fired. He resigned. He didn't want to be that coach anymore. Okay, divisional round. This is where the more in-depth recaps come in because wild card round, I didn't do an episode last week, and I was just kind of, this more in-depth. So let's get into it. It's starting with the best game of the weekend, the Rams and the Bears. Two teams that won their games in the first round. But let's start off with the scoring breakdown as always. Kyren Williams started the scoring with a rushing touchdown in the first quarter. And then the Bears, they got on the field and a touchdown reception from DJ Moore to make it 7-7. A field goal from the Bears with 1:10 left. Stafford gets his offense down the field in 8 plays, and they knock in a tying field goal. And then fourth quarter strikes after the game for a while had been 10-10. Kyren Williams scores a rushing touchdown with 8:50 left to go. The Bears drive down the field. They get stuffed, but they get a stop. They get the ball back, and then they go down the field. One more opportunity to win the game. Caleb Williams on 4th down and 4 fires a ball out of the back of the end zone to Cole Kmet, and he secures it for the catch, ties things up at 17, and we're going to overtime. Each side had an opportunity in overtime, and then it was sudden death. The Rams got the ball first. They punted. Then the Bears got the ball. They turned it over. And then the Rams would drive down the field. They kick a field goal, and they'd win the game. Final score of the game Sunday, 20-17. So I look at the Bears, and I see majority of the people talking about they are a threat to you. They are a threat to the NFC North. They're messing with the Packers. They're messing with the Lions. I don't know what the thing with the Vikings is, but J.J. McCarthy walked in their place and embarrassed him. I'm sure that doesn't sit well with Ben Johnson and the group. The Bears are for real. And what I say to that is, it's a good start. I think last year we kind of saw what a young offense can do and how far it can take you with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. How good your offense can get you in situations like that. Looked good to me. But here's the thing. Their defense, I get it. Caleb Williams, 3 turnovers. It's not going to win you football games, and that's on you. Their defense, I think, was one of the lesser units in the NFL this season. You gave up 50 to the Lions, 50 to the Bengals. The Packers had their way when they wanted to. Like, the Bears, in my opinion, it's going to be one heck of an offseason. You can't pull a Commanders where you have a first-year head coach, a young quarterback, you went deep in the playoffs, and you have a system that works, and you don't make any significant improvements in the offseason. Now, the Commanders, the Commanders added to their offensive line. They tried to go out and get Von Miller. But those aren't significant improvement. Those are 2 older guys that are going to add to the roster. But at the end of the day, they're expensive, and they're going to take up cap space. So, in my opinion, I think if you're Chicago, this has to be an offseason where there's a lot of good. But there's also some stuff that we kind of want to fix this offseason. And so you look at your GM, you say, can you get me the pieces I need to get where we want to go? And if I'm the GM, I say, whatever you need, Ben. Wherever I can get, whatever you need to get this team to a Super Bowl, we'll do it. And so I feel like the Bears, they're on the right track. They're not that far off, but they're on the right track. I like in the direction they're heading. The second best game, in my opinion, this weekend, Bills-Broncos. Argument to be made for the first. This game also went in overtime. It was only the second overtime game in postseason history under the new rules, which are each side gets a possession. So the first, like if you get the ball on offense, you don't score, and you score a touchdown, the other team has a shot to score. The other team has an opportunity to tie it up. And then you go to sudden death. But first quarter scoring breakdown for this game. First quarter, Will Lutz knocked in a field goal, followed by Malik Hardman catching a touchdown reception from Josh Allen. 7-3 Bills at the end of one. Frank Crum, I hope I'm saying that right, caught a touchdown reception from Bo Nix, making it 10-7. Bills field goal, and then a touchdown from Denver late in the half. Lil Jordan Humphrey from Bo Nix. That would put Denver up 17-10. The Bills would come out in the next series, and they turned the ball over. It was a fumble, and that would lead to a Denver touchdown, 20-10. And that would be a big, important 3 points in this game. Denver comes out. They put together a decent series. Coming out of the half, remember the halftime score, 22-10. And then third quarter, Will Lutz field goal makes it 23-10. Bills are still within reach. It's only a 2-score game. Keon Coleman catches a touchdown reception from Josh Allen. Dalton Kincaid catches a touchdown reception from Josh Allen. It's 24-23. Bills have the lead. They end up kicking a field goal late in the fourth. And then the Broncos go down the field. They score a touchdown, make it 30-27. The Bills would get a field goal, tie things up, and like I said, we're going back to overtime. The Broncos would get the ball to start overtime, and they would punt on their first series. The Bills series was moving nicely, but it would end in an interception. And then the Broncos would drive down the field, and they would score a touchdown. or they'd kick a field goal, and the final score would be 33-30. I've seen a lot of controversy on the interception call. Is it an interception? Some people don't agree. Here's what I'll say about this. I will say that it was an interception. Cooks went to the ground. He never established firm control, and he just got the ball ripped from him, just ripped out of his hands. Here's the thing that I don't think many people realize about, like, this is part of the reason why the Bills lost. 2 interceptions from Josh Allen, right? So Josh didn't play a great game. You fumbled the ball 5 times, right? You recovered it twice. The other time, 2 of those fumbles that you lost, you lost 3 fumbles. You threw 2 interceptions. That's 5 total turnovers, right? And the Broncos capitalize off those turnovers. Now, the Broncos are really good on defense. They're one of the best defensive units in the NFL. And there's no surprise there with how much money they invested into their defense this offseason. They forced 5 turnovers. That's impressive. Now, Denver, they threw the ball. Both of these teams threw the ball a ton, which is typically what you see from the longer games, right? But the Bills, they had no sacks on defense. They had 1 interception, but they had gotten no sacks on the quarterback. He had a couple of QB hits, but no sacks. Denver had 3 sacks on Josh Allen, not to mention they got in the backfield, forced a fumble, were able to get points off of that. It was so, impressive how that defense played. But I'll say this, their offense impressed me. I was heading into this postseason like Denver. Their offense isn't that good. It's been one of the worst offenses all season. And you look at the stats, they didn't run the ball a ton. They didn't look good running it. But when they threw the ball, they threw it for nearly 300 yards. They had 3 touchdowns. And time of possession was killer. Because, no, never mind. Those third downs that you were able to convert, I wasn't impressed with Denver. They seemed like a team that when you needed them to score points, they couldn't. They were less than impressive all season. And to me, when they really have to, they score points. This was a game where they had to score points. They found a way to score points. And so I was impressed with Denver. But like I said, with Buffalo, the turnovers, you had no sacks in the game. That's hard to win games when you don't get sacks. It's hard to win games off of those 2 factors. Your defense lets you down. And it could also be that. Maybe the Bills' defense I understand it's not the greatest. But the other thing is maybe it was just Buffalo's defense. I look at the Bills, they should have won this game. It's very realistic. Buffalo finds a way to win this game. And they just cannot. Penalties hurt them, but like I said, the turnovers killed you. You can't win the turnover battle. You can't win the game. And it's very interesting because I was listening to Julian Edelman talk, and he said the postseason, it's not about who can make bigger plays. Because that's what Buffalo did. They made big plays. It's about who can make fewer mistakes. And the Broncos made way less mistakes than Denver did. And that's why Denver's moving on to the NFC title game. Now, both of these teams had some news come out in the following days after this game, Denver, I think it was Sunday night, released news that Bo Nix had broke his ankle the day, I believe it was the day after the conference title game. Crazy. Or no, he broke his ankle. Excuse me. The second to last play of the game. Crazy to me. Crazy. But there's a lot of confidence in Jarrett Stidham that he can be the guy that can take over and lead them to the Super Bowl. I don't know if you can win it, though, with Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback. I don't even know if you can win this week. Okay. AFC Divisional round, Foxborough. It was the second closest game. Patriots versus the Texans. Going into it, Patriots are the favorite, and they got off to a hot start. Scoring breakdown once again. 7-0 to Mario Douglas from Drake May. Texans would kick a field goal. Then they'd get a turnover. They'd find a way to score off the turnover. 10-7 Texans. Pick 6 from Marcus Jones on the first play of the next Texans series. 14-10 New England. Stephon Diggs late in the first half would catch a touchdown pass from Drake May. Make it 21-10. End of the first half. Going into the second half, Texans back-to-back field goals to open things up. The dagger, an incredible catch. Incredible catch from Kayshon Boutte down the sideline. And wow. But that would be the dagger. And that would end the game 28-16. It was very early in the game. All right. Now, the Texans had a similar story to the Bills in which they were on the road. It was very cold in Foxborough, from what I heard. And the Texans defense, first of all, they made plays. Patriots offense just didn't look like the Patriots offense. Drake May only threw for 179 yards. They only ran it for 105. I felt like they were more balanced than the Texans, but that's kind of been, since Joe Mixon got injured, the Texans haven't been balanced. But they turned the ball over, and they had 4 interceptions and a fumble. The Patriots, that defense from the Texans forced turnovers, yes. But they were able to. Their offense just couldn't get going. C.J. Stroud, he came out in the media. I saw it in his presser. He said that he has to be more responsible with the football, which is understandable. You can't come out to have 4 interceptions and say, "Hey, it was on, this guy. The ball slipped through his hands. The defender was staying." It's on the quarterback for making the bad decisions and the bad plays. And in my opinion, one of those interceptions kind of is on one of his receivers. I think it was Xavier Hutchinson, where the ball just kind of slipped right through his hands. They threw the ball plenty in this game, but neither offense really looked good to me. I think it was a defensive battle, even if you have a team score more than 20 points on one side. Because you take that 7 away, 21-16, still low-scoring game. Not as high-scoring as the other game with a couple of turnovers, but Texans defense played incredible, and I think if you're Houston hanging in this offseason, you got to come out and you got to, not only do you have to work hard if you're CJ Stroud, but if you're the general manager, this offensive line has to get built up. You have to find a running back, which is good because I believe this is a very strong. This upcoming draft class is either a good, really good. I think it's a good offensive line class. And maybe, I think it's a good offensive line class and a good running back class. So there are two positions of areas that you might need. I think a lot of the running backs they have free agency are going to be up there. No offense to David Montgomery, great running back. But the Texans are going to have a lot of work to do this offseason. And if I'm the Patriots, not really excited to playing in Denver again, especially if you're Mike Vrabel. 2 14-win teams. They're both going to play each other next season. It's going to be a very exciting matchup between Denver and New England. And I'm going to be sitting there, a little got wings, right? I'm going to be excited for this game. This is going to be a great game Saturday. It's going to be, it's going to be fantastic. There was a blowout this weekend. It was not pretty, but it was the Niners and the Seahawks. I got a buddy who likes the Seahawks. And when I talked to him, he said, yeah, Sam Darnold might be in trouble this week. But we're going to get into the scoring breakdown first. It went Seahawks Rashid Shaheed kickoff return for a touchdown. Seahawks field goal. Jackson Smith-Njigba touchdown. Already the Seahawks lead 17-0. The Niners put together 2 really good series, both consisting of 10 plays and taking up a little, both take up at least 5 minutes. And they both end in field goals. Kenneth Walker would get a touchdown on the, we get a touchdown on near the end of the half, make it 24-6, and that would be the halftime score. Coming out of the second half, Seattle would kick a field goal, and then Kenneth Walker would have 2 more touchdowns, giving him 3 rushing touchdowns on the day, and a final score of 41-6. Seattle was the favorite, and my goodness, they were so good in this game. I'm going to start off with addressing the biggest issue, or just the main thing. Sam Darnold. Not really that great in this game. You look at him totally, was 12 for 17, 124 and 1 touchdown. Sometimes stats don't tell the entire story. And sometimes they do. They tell you that the quarterback play was less than exceptional. It wasn't bad. It was good. And that's what they needed. Like I said, it's about which team can make less mistakes. Today, that was Seattle. 1,000%, that was the Seahawks. They made less mistakes. They were able to capitalize off the Niners. And it's not like the Niners made a ton of mistakes. Purdy only had 1 interception. They didn't lose the football like that, right? It was more the Niners were just so banged up that there was little to no skill talent on the field, where it was kind of Seattle could just pick their poison, like, hey, we're going to put 2 guys on this guy, leave this guy single coverage, and the guy that's on single coverage just kind of drops the ball, or he's not as open. And I feel like Purdy wasn't really comfortable. I feel like he was flushed a little bit. He was moving around a little bit. And you look at, like, the QBR. I mean, I just don't even want to talk about it. It just didn't look good. Didn't look good. And he was sacked twice. So, I mean, you can't put all the blame on Brock Purdy because Seattle's defense is really that good. And like I said, the Niners were just so banged up. It was just kind of like pick your poison. And this is really what we should have seen from Philadelphia last week. Not really a blowout as much, but kind of the offense can do just enough where the defense can carry out, but the offense can do just enough to where it's not as noticeable that the defense is just doing it. Like, if Jalen Hurts went 12 for 17, 124, 1 touchdown, Will Shipley returns a kick return for a touchdown, Saquon has 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Eagles, I mean, the Seahawks win that game last week, even if they give up 20 to the Niners. So, yeah, this game wasn't as close, but I do think the Seahawks are for real, just like the Bears, just like the Broncos, just like the Patriots. You know, all these teams that are advancing they're legit. And I didn't talk much about the Rams in their win, but it was a good win for the Rams. You know, they're all legit. I think the Seahawks are the most dangerous out of the three because they were able to blow their opponent out. Obviously, the competition level between these two teams, it just wasn't equal. So I'm going to be intrigued to see what they look like versus a team that gave them a little bit of competition earlier in the season, a team that they beat, and a team that beat them. This game's going to be in Seattle. Honestly, arguably, I personally think that Seattle, that the Rams could have gotten the 1 seed if they didn't blow it at the end of the year, but it was going to be in Seattle. All right, that's cool. So I think all my takeaways are just blatantly out there. Every team that won is serious, and the teams that lost, you need to either improve on defense or improve your offensive line, and that's the bottom line. Now the Niners didn't really talk about what they need to improve because there's nothing there to improve. You just got to get guys healthy. You got to get Brandon Ayuk back on the field. So I honestly don't know what the Niners are. What a lot of these teams are going to look like next year is not going to be the same as it looked this year. That's for sure. There's only teams like the Bears that are young and they're growing. They can only go up. Teams like the Bills, who just fired their head coach. I mean, there is, it's going to be a bit of a process if you're a Bill. It's going to be a bit of a process to get things back to the way you want it. And for a team like the Texans, I think it's just off-season adjustments have to be made. Like I said, they're also a young team, and you don't want to waste that defense. Russell Wilson at least got the Legion of Boom a championship. And to me, personally, I think that that's the equivalent of what's going on there. The quarterback's decent. You got to find your good running back, your decent running back. But I think the defense is all there. They're a great defense. And I think they have a couple of Super Bowls in their future appearances. I don't know if they can win it all, but like I said with the Seahawks, they were just a more dominant team on Saturday night. They looked overall better. They're the real deal. I believe them. They are really the 1 seed. Okay. So predictions-wise, the AFC Championship game this season is in Denver. The game's in Denver. It's at 3 o'clock this Sunday. I'm going to take Stidham is starting for the Broncos. There's no question about whether they're going to bring in another guy. And then there's no question if Tom Brady's coming out of retirement, if they're going to bring in Phillip Rivers. 1,000% Jarrett Stidham is the starting quarterback this weekend. Nick Foles had a little comment to say, but the Patriots typically struggle with backup quarterbacks. This isn't your average backup quarterback. He's Stidham. I'm not going to say he's really good, but he's talented. He's making it to the NFL. And he's seen as a valued backup to where Sean Payton is comfortable enough starting him into a position like this. The Patriots defense is, my goodness, the best since 2018, 2019. Those 2 seasons. It's not just Broncos hate, but it partially is. Give me the Patriots. And on the opposite side of things, with the NFC title game, this is 6:30 in Seattle, Rams, Seahawks. I think I love Stafford. I love Darnold. Okay, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't love Darnold, but I love Stafford. And if I had to pick one, I'd have to say the Rams. It wouldn't surprise me if Seattle found a way to win that game, but I'm going to take the Rams for 2 reasons. One, I had them in the Super Bowl in my predictions video. The Bills kind of ruined me with that. I'm not going to forgive you anytime soon. You just fired your head coach, so that new guy's going to be getting some of the heat that I'm dishing out. But also, I think that the Rams, with their familiarity, they went to Seattle. I'm not saying it's going to be as high-powered. What I am saying is they're familiar with the opponent. They understand what they did last time. They're not going to make those mistakes again. Give me the Rams. It's going to be a lot of adjustments game. It's going to be a great weekend for football. Shout out to the Indiana Hoosiers for winning the National Championship League game last night. Going to be very exciting couple of months for them as they go on media tours and press tours to get ready for the NFL draft. Cignetti with recruiting. So shout out all those players. Thank you once again so much for listening to this episode of The Jackson Show. I enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. And today was another great episode. Thank you so much. And don't forget to tune into the next episode of The Jackson Show. And as always, break a friend.